All right, guys, welcome. My name is Todd, W1STJ. We are here at Northeast Ham Radio Group, and you're probably asking, like, what is the Northeast Ham Radio? Well, we're just a bunch of YouTubers, content creators, and podcasters live in the Northeast. We love ham radio and want to get together, hang out, and, well, talk ham radio. So, what we want to bring to the hobby to showcase things that are going on and around. So whether it's Hamfest, regional conferences, POTA, soda meetups, we want to bring awareness and promote it. This is at the ground floor, so your content creator in the ham radio space, come be a part of the journey. You can head over to n1jur.com or nehr.com, which will be our description and in the chat. So let's get into a bit and let's say hello and what's been going on with you guys recently. Let's start off with Mike, N2MAK. Mike, what have you been doing this last couple of weeks?
I've been zigzagging all over, man. It's been busy time with family. It's a family. My sister was up from Texas this last week. I was out in Utica, where I'm from, in Central New York, visiting family. Did find some time to squeeze in a POTA along the way, which was real funny because road trip, right? So I'm listening to the podcast on the way out. I get to the park, and you were spotted. Like you were right there, but you were in 20 meters, and being in New York, it's just too close. So I don't know if you noticed, like I spotted myself just like three kilohertz up from you.
Yeah, no, I saw you in there, and then Eric, he sent me a text, and he says, "Work, Mike. He's right up from you." And I went over, and I heard people working you, but I couldn't get you.
Yeah, and by we were QRP too, but I had my son with me, and it was good to get him on the air again. So
yeah. All right. Well, just so everyone who's watching tonight, we're going to be talking about POTA awards, and it's also Support Your Parks weekend. So we're going to be doing a lot of POTA stuff tonight. But before we do that, let's go see with Rob, N1NUG. Rob, since the last time we all met, what have you been up to?
How you doing, guys? Let's see. Been busy at work. This is our busy time in the summer, so been putting in some overtime. But as far as radio stuff goes, today I kind of had an unscheduled thing. Well, it kind of came up at the last minute. My in-laws live in southeastern Connecticut, very close to the Rhode Island border. My father-in-law is also a ham, and he found out about an event going on at the New England, I'm going to get this wrong, Steam and Wireless Museum, something like that. That might not be the exact name. It's in Greenwich, Rhode Island, I think, not too far from where they live in southeast Connecticut. So we took a ride over there today, and what a wonderful place. I wish we had more time to stay there a little bit longer, but they have a whole building dedicated to radio history with a lot of old ham transmitters, new old stuff, Spark Gap. They even gave us a demo of some Spark Gap stuff. And then they've got a whole nother building where they have restored steam engines. They had stuff running. It was a really cool place. So if anybody's ever in the Rhode Island area, put that on your list and check it out.
Oh, very cool.
That's very cool. Yeah.
I've never heard of that. So definitely.
Yeah, I had never either before. My father-in-law somehow found out about it, and like I said, we went and checked it out. But yeah, definitely if you're in that area or in New England, it's worth a visit.
It's kind of like the Radio Vintage Museum down in Hartford, it's actually in Windsor, Connecticut.
Yeah,
there's a vintage radio museum there too. So
it's got less radio stuff because half of the museum is dedicated to steam. But really cool. Kind of along those same lines.
Wow,
very cool. All right, Marvin, WOMET. What have you been doing lately? I know you've been working on your.
Well, it's a zero. I don't know why, but all right. It does look like an O. So who knows?
Oh, zero. Sorry. Okay. Zero. It's all the same.
All the same. I've been obviously very busy for myself at work as well with the Teachers Institute, the ARRL. It's a busy time for us to have all of them in there. Just got a podcast out this morning. I'm finishing up the editing of that now, and finishing up right after here. But it's been a lot of travel. It's just been unbelievable amount of travel this summer, going here, there, and a little bit of everywhere. I've been in Wisconsin just 2 weeks ago, and of course we had field day in there and all kinds of things going on. So I was hoping to get maybe an activation today, but I'm not sure where today went. it disappeared really quickly. But we're gonna get one in tomorrow for sure. It's been a while since I've got one, and I was down, I think about 3 weeks ago. I went and did Connecticut down in the Sound area, and that was very cool. That was a fun area to go do my first QRP on 10 watts park activation. So that was pretty slick. It was a little tougher than I was hoping it'd be, but overall it turned out well, and got it done. I'm going to try it again tomorrow. So we'll try and go QRP and see how easy I can make it work. So,
well, that's good. I'll tell you, like, since we had that big storm, 20 meters has been tough, but my last couple activations, 20 meters hasn't been bad. It's getting better. And I worked a lot of QRP today. I actually did 2 parks today, and I had a couple QRP. I had a couple mobile guys, which is kind of scary. I don't understand how you hunting parks and driving. The guy's like, "Oh, I'm fading in, I'm driving."
I do it all the time. I literally have up on my phone. I've got my phone. I've got like a command center in my truck, and my phone is mounted to my dash, and I just have the logging program up. And actually, I'm using the World Radio League from Ham Radio Prep, and I can just type it in real quick, and it just goes, and it works out really. Yeah. Just type in the call sign. That's all I need. Is all I really need to worry about. I mean, I'm not worried too much about the 5.9 or 5.7, whatever. But if it's a big difference, then I will. But if it's, hey, you're a 3.3 or something, I'll type it a bit. Other than that, if it's 5.8, 5.9, I'll just leave it like it is. Move on.
Yeah. No, very cool. Yeah. So that's what I did today. But myself, I took the summer off. For those of you who don't know, I do juvenile probation. I've been working with juvenile delinquents for over 30 years, and I've been doing probation for 20. And I needed a break, and I maxed out on all my time. So I said, screw it, I'm taking it off. Wow. Got permission from the boss, and went down to North Carolina, worked parks in Virginia, Maryland, and North Carolina, and been working on a deck, putting in replacing my old deck because I kept walking through it. It was rotting. So we're putting that Trex down. So I've been doing that, but I've also been running out and doing a couple parks here and there, which has been good because prior to me taking the summer off, I hadn't really done a lot of parks, just on my own, like around here. I normally do them when I travel because I got nothing better to do. And then I just, bring my gear. And if I have to go see a kid in, say, Mississippi, I go see the kid. 20 minutes later, I got all day. What am I going to do? So I just go find parks. But locally, haven't really done much. So I've been getting out a little bit more. And Eric and I are working on our kilo at the National Rail Trail. So we've been picking those up a little bit, hoping to have them done by September. So that's basically what I've been doing ham radio wise. And it's just been good to be back out there. So basically, like I said, today we're going to talk a little bit about this weekend is Support Your Parks, the summer of 2024. They do it winter, spring, summer, and fall. It's basically the third full weekend of January, April, July, and October. So the next one will be October 19th and 20th. That'll be the autumn one, third full weekend. And basically, it's just everyone get out there. And what's cool about it, at least what I find, is there's a ton of parks out there. I mean, I get more park-to-parks on this weekend than you do any other time. Like probably half or if not more are park-to-park contacts. Yeah. So that's been pretty cool. So I got out this weekend. I got out today. I did one in the morning, came home, and then my son wanted to go fishing. So the rail trail has a nice little pond, so I can activate and he goes fishing. So it works out good for both of us. So yeah, that's basically what I've been up to. And so that's what we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about awards. And I don't know how many of you guys pay attention to the awards. I wasn't really paying attention to them. Like when I first started, I remember like you get your first 10 and you're like, oh, you got this award, or you hunted this, you get the hunter award. It was kind of, they all came real quick. And then I just kind of like forgot about them. And when I was in North Carolina, I get this alert saying I got a early shift activator award. Well, North Carolina, if you've never been down there in the summer, it's hot and humid. Like, and I mean, it's hot, right? So like, I'm not going out in the middle of the afternoon to go work a park. I'm going first thing in the morning. So I'd get up at like 6 a.m. I'd cruise to this park, which was like 7 minutes away. And I worked it like 3 or 4 times. And all of a sudden I get this award. You activated a single entity 20 times. So I must have had other ones. But because I worked those 4 and I get this award, and I was like, oh, crap. And then I looked at him like, look at all these awards I got. And look at all these things that I've been earning. I haven't even really paid attention to it. So I guess today, like, what do you guys think of these awards? Do you hunt after them? Do you work towards them? Like today, I worked my 50th different park, or it says different unit. So I got the Diamond Activator, which is, I guess, 50. I don't even know when the next one is, but there's Activator and there's Hunting Awards, and then there's some special awards out there. So that's what we're going to talk about. So I guess I'll leave it up to you guys. Like, do you guys care about the awards? Do you look at them, or do you go and chase after them?
I think they're a good thing because first of all, I think it's one of the ways they've made POTA really fun as an activity, that they've managed to gamify it, right? With different awards and things like that. You know, for me, it's more about the process of getting these. Like, I look at them as challenges, whether it's doing a rove and knocking out multiple parks, to getting my first kilo and all these other things that come along. You kind of look at it as like these challenges, but at the end of the day, it's just a certificate. That said, what you learned and the fun that you had in the process,
Right.
whether it's something as simple and dorky as like planning out the road trip and figuring out which parks do we hit first, where do I park, and sometimes like the planning process that goes into some of these roves is fun, and you're staking out a new park in a different part of the state you've never been to. But it's sometimes it's the journey that's what really matters, as opposed to the destination. And so that's how I've kind of used awards to just give me some fun challenges. But and this is a whole other debate too. I know some people have strong opinions, but I memorized a lot of the stuff for my exams. I took my tech general and extra 1, 2, 3, 1 month and the next, and then got on the air. Some people look at it, it's a license to learn, and just by getting out and doing and trying different things like 6 meters or stuff like that, that's how you actually learn hands-on. At least for me, everyone learns differently, but I've learned a lot about different antennas, bands, propagation, just by chasing after some of these different awards and trying new things. So for me, it's been a fun learning process.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have to like do things to learn. I'm like a hands-on type of guy, and that's kind of like,
Absolutely.
and it also motivated me to, when I started in POTA, and in the beginning, you get a whole bunch of them real quick, right? And then they slow down. But when I was getting them, I was like, oh, I got to get the next one. It motivated me to go out, get another award. And it's fun because you get them on both sides. And then they have those special awards, right? Like the New Year's Activator. I think you got to make the first week of the year. So like, who's going out in like January? Well, this guy is.
Yep.
I got to get another. Now it's like I got to get the 2024. I got to get the 2025 one, right? Got to keep it going. So it's been kind of good. And like you said, with the roves, Eric and I, N1JUR, he's on vacation, but we did a rove in October down on the seacoast, and I started in Mass and worked our way up to Maine, and we were planning on doing 10. We got 7. One of the parks that we were going to go to was shut down for renovation, and then we got into some big pileups, and we didn't want to leave. So we're going to do it again this fall, because if you do it in the fall, you don't have the crowds, and we did it on an 80-degree day. It was like this freak warm thing, and it was nice. It was perfect weather. We're right on the water. I mean, we're activating like on the beaches, like right. My antenna was floating in the water, like mounted, and the waves were coming across it. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. And again, I just knew that I didn't know there was an award for it. We just decided, hey, let's go do this, And I'm like, all right, let's go. I took the day off of work. He took the day off of work. And then when we got back, all of a sudden, like I look on the thing, and I got this, what was it called? The Rover Warthog. So I was like, hey, we got an award. I didn't even know. So yeah, so it just gives you different things to do and different things to plan out. And like I said, I'm more of like, it's not like I'm like need to get those awards, but it does give you some maybe some motivation to get out there. If you're at 40, like today, I was at 49 activated parks, right? And I need 50 to get the Diamond Activator. So I could have just gone to a park I knew to. So I was like, there's a park real close here. So just went over to the new one, tried it out, So anyway, Rob, you with awards, do you follow them, keep them, look at them, care about them?
I'm a bit of a hypocrite with stuff like this, because if somebody asks me, And oh, do you chase the awards? No, I'm not interested in that. But every time I log into that page, I'm looking to see, what did I get? What did I get?
Yep.
So I guess the answer is I don't actively go out and, try to get an award, except for the kilo. I decided I wanted to do that last year at the park that's across the street because I figured it's across the street. If I don't get a kilo over there, there's something wrong with me. So I did that, intentionally. But the other ones, no, I kind of like you guys, it's like I go out for an activation and I upload the log and it's like, okay, did I earn anything? Did I get an award? Whatever, what's in here? Because there's so much, but kind of like what you guys were saying, it's one of those things where, you can pick an award and go after it and make that a goal or a challenge or something, and then pursue it. But for me, I tend to just be way too casual and sporadic with how I operate to do that. But it is fun to see those things pop up when they come, and I do see the enjoyment that other people get from picking an award and going after it. So
Yeah.
I think it's cool that they've done all that, and I think what's even better is that it's all free. You don't have to pay anything. It's nice to donate, if you can, to kind of help the things stay alive, but they're not demanding that you pay them to get these certificates. So
Yeah, and they come in like PDF, right? So I mean, you can print them out, save them, do whatever you want with them, or they're just on the POTA app. Like one of the things that you were saying with like you don't really chase them. Some of them I do chase. Like, so there is an award which is work all states, either activating or hunting. So I got the hunting one. That wasn't so bad. I can't get the activator one. Or no, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Yeah, worked all states. I'm two away from getting everything. I got DC, which is a wild card, which I don't really count that. I want to get all the states. I need Alaska and Hawaii. And I was telling him, Marvin, I get this guy almost every time I go out, North Pole, Alaska. Every time I do a park, I mean, I get it. I go, you had a park, man? His name's Paul. I go, you had a park? He goes, no, I'm going to go out this weekend. I have him on my hammers. I'm like, you're the only guy I can get in Alaska. But I'm two away from hunting all. And then I've got 15 activated states. And I told my wife, I said, before I die, we're getting all 50. So she goes, does that mean we're going to Hawaii? I'm like, yep, got to get it. So those are two that I focus on. The other ones, they just come as you activate, and if there's something close, I might work on it. Like if I got to get park to parks, I'll try to make sure I get 5 more park to parks just to get to the next level of it. So Marvin, what about you? Do you follow them, care about them?
So I'm similar to Rob. I will go in there and, if I log in, well, look at that. I got, a diamond activated diamond hunter now. Cool. I've got 200 park to parks worked and those sort of things. So I do kind of want to achieve that. You're kind of where I am. I'm want to getting a kilo award. I want to get that. I was close before I moved. I was working on a park in Tennessee, and now I'm not going to be able to get that one. But even though I was like 700 and some contacts into it, and like, you gotta be kidding me. The other part was the work all states. So I'm literally trying to go to every state and work at least one park. I don't care if it's just one park. I'm working at least a park in the state, and I'm traveling the country trying to do that. So I'm probably maybe 10 away from doing that completely. What I really don't have is that Utah, Montana, Nevada, that Colorado area. I'm just missing all that. And then Alaska and Hawaii. So I think I've got pretty much all the New England and all the like southeast ones and stuff. So
now is that hunting them or going to them?
I'm actually going to them, activating them. So that's what I'm trying to get to. That's where I'm trying to get those traveled. And really for me, going and doing parks in the air is more about seeing what's around there, enjoying the park itself. If anybody watches KB9 VBR, out in Wisconsin, he always is talking about the history of the area and maybe a cool store or some type of something cooler in the area. And I love that part of it myself when I go out and visit. Like, oh man, this is a really cool building here that was built in 1700s or something, and it's something historic about it, and that's why I love going to the parks. I mean, of course, I love activating them, but it's really about going and seeing what is around there too, and what's cool to visit and learn something from that. So awards are not a big deal to me, even though, like I said, working all states and getting a couple kilos are the two things I kind of, particularly myself, just chase. That's about it, though.
I'm with you. I really, like I said, I've hunted everything. I did have some trouble getting, like, I think Montana. There's not a lot of people in Montana, let alone hams. But when I got that one, I was like, sweet. But it's kind of a cool. It can, if you're looking for a goal and you want to do that. But like you said, activating in different states. Sometimes I have to go down and
challenge
and check on kids. So like I've been to like Mississippi, Arkansas. And I'm like, when would I ever go to Mississippi or Arkansas? Like, I have no reason to go down there. But you get down there and you activate a park. And like you said, you get to check it out. You go to a place you probably never go to before. You might, like the first time I did Mississippi, I got off the plane and I wasn't seeing the kid till the next day. And I went right to a park. And I'm sitting there and people are swimming. It was like a campground kind of park on the other side. And all of a sudden I'm looking in the thing. I'm like, I go, there are alligators in Mississippi? Like, holy shit, there's an alligator. Swimming towards me, and it was getting close to like the late shift, and I had Eric on the phone. I'm like, yeah, dude. I'm like, there's alligators down. He goes, oh, stay for the late shift. I'm like, dude, I'm in the middle of the woods and there's alligators like 10 feet from me. I'm like, I'm not staying out here in the dark. But so that was my first experience of that. But when I was in Mississippi another time, I didn't realize how close I was from Jacksonville to Louisiana. So I'm like, I just drove over. Went over the Mississippi and hit a park in Louisiana, and I was in a black rent-a-car, and I'm sitting there in the car in the parking lot of this park on this big lake, and I got my antenna off to the side, and this guy comes up, and he's got a truck full of garbage, and he uses the dumpster, and he's staring at me, and I'm just doing my thing, and then he circles around me, and he comes back, and he's got like this draw. He goes, "You FBI?" I'm like, no, sir, I'm not FBI. I go, you sure you're not FBI? He goes, I sometimes dump my shit here. Is that okay? I said, listen, man, I'm just doing ham radio. You look like FBI, bald head, black car, I got an antenna out. I'm on the radio. I'm like, no, man, not FBI. So so that was a good story. I was like, all right, Louisiana, here we go. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah. I was like, wow. I was in Arkansas and I was in another park, and I'm sitting there, and these like kids, and again, I'm on juvenile probation office, and these kids pull up in the car and they start smoking weed, doing one of those like bake in the cars, and I'm just like laughing at them, and they're looking at me, and I should have just pulled out my badge and scared the crap out of them.
Mike Bell has a drink.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So, I mean, I got those, and then I've been down to Florida to see some kids, been down there on vacation and whatever. And so I've hit Florida, I hit California. My brother lives out there. So like anytime I go, I bring my gear with me because you never know, what's going to, where you're going to be. And, one day I got stuck in Charlotte, and I hadn't had North Carolina yet. And I was like, I'm like, I bet you I could Uber to a park before my flight leaves. I got like 4 hours.
Wow.
But no, I didn't do it. I didn't want to miss it and, find out that I missed the flight. But anyway,
I know we're talking about awards real quick, but you're talking about the population density like Montana out west. And it was funny because I was out in Oregon and Washington a year ago or so, and I was trying to make contacts. I'm going, I can't get anybody in this region whatsoever. And I went to a new park and it made a difference. And my first contact was all the way back over in Boston. And so it was like, I can't get somebody locally, but I can talk to somebody all the way across the United States to the other side of my park. And I'm like, this is crazy. But that was just part of working all my states. And some of those states out to the west, they're not densely populated. So, and that's when I quickly realized that from like the Mississippi River east, that's where all the U.S. lives. There's nobody out in those areas, and it's tough to get some of those states like that. So.
Plus the parks out there are a little bit more spread out than what we've got here,
Right.
I've probably got 50 parks within an hour's drive.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody out west, they might have 1 or 2. So
exactly.
a little tougher.
Yeah, well, that's totally. I mean, that I agree. I mean, they're all over the place. And then Eric and I were talking. I think we talked about it on our podcast. I can't even remember what we do on our podcast half the time, but I know we had the conversation where we have like you have like state forest, right, versus state parks, say, and here, like in New Hampshire, a state forest is just like a bunch of trees. Like it's not like it's not labeled like welcome to the state forest. It's just like here you are, and there's just a bunch of woods that's a state forest. Well, you go down south, the state forest or the animal refuge places, those are like legit, like they're set up like parks. So that was something that I had noticed like down south, because I always look for the parks, especially when I'm traveling, because you want to be able to maybe find it's not like I got a table and a chair with me, flying around. So you want to try to find a picnic table or a place to set up. But down there, all their animal refuge and forests are all basically they're like state parks that are up here. So
yeah. I know that we had we had a question. What was it? What are the rules for flying with QRP radios? Should I check it, carry it on? And I know someone touched on the 12 amp hour in the in the comments, but
yeah, I've
as
done
far
it.
as flying with the radio shouldn't present a problem. The concern generally is the battery.
Correct.
And my understanding is you'd have to look it up with TSA and the airlines, but I think it's limited to it's like 150, 160 watt hours.
I think it's only at 100 watt hours, which is like 12 amps.
Well, that'd be like 144.
144. Okay, maybe that's what it is. Okay.
12 volts times the 12 amps.
12 amps.
So a 12 amp hour battery is definitely a sweet spot, QRP or not, because you can power most 100 watt radios with a 12 amp hour battery. You're not going to get a lot of life out of that, especially if you're running like full power FT8 or something like that. But you can still, and I used a 12 amp hour battery, my 7300 for the first several months that I had it. But that's what you want to pay attention to. And the airlines themselves may have a limit for how many batteries that you can carry on, but they're generally going to have to be below that 12 amp hour size.
So just FYI real quick, I want to interrupt. I just looked it up and I thought I was right. And I'm not saying you can be wrong, but it says lithium, because I've done it myself. I carry 12 amp hour batteries with me all the time, but it says lithium batteries with 100 watt hours or less in a device. So you can carry them with you, but it says 100 watt hours per battery. So that's from the TSA website directly. But I've done 12 amp hours and they've never questioned me. But I'm just saying, if you try it, just be aware of that you may be over if you're carrying a 12 amp hour battery onto the plane. They may be saying, nope, sorry, ain't going to fly with that, buddy.
Yeah. So I normally print out, I have it on my phone, the little page of what my battery meets the criteria, because they never know. And every TSA in every airport checks for different things. So like I've gone through no problem, nothing. I've had other times they've checked my antenna, other times they've checked the battery. The one time they checked the weight. I had one of those throw weights to hold the tripod down, and they didn't like that because it was like dense material. But then you go, the next day you go through no problem. So the best thing to do is just keep it all together. Like I try to keep all my POTA stuff. Like I always, when I travel for like the day, like I normally will go down, one day and come back in the morning. So I just bring my POTA bag and I throw a change of clothes in it. That's basically all I got, like a backpack. And also, if you get the TSA the pre-check. You pay for that. They don't check. You just walk through, and if they ask you, you just say, "Yeah, I got a ham radio in there." I'm like, "Yeah, all right, just shove it through the machine."
Now, can you bring like a wire antenna? Do they? Have you tried that?
I've never been questioned.
Yeah, I bring them, and I bring my my Buddy Pole Pro, which
right on the plane.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and the 891, and everything, and it's totally fine. Like I had a guy in Manchester. He was a ham. And I know the guy wanted to check out my equipment because he went through everything. And I'm like, really, dude? Like, I'm a ham. I already told you what it was. He's going through, where'd you get this? Where'd you get that?
Yeah, and James is asking if you can take a bigger battery if you check the bag.
You can't.
That I'm not aware of.
You can't throw it. you have to have them with you. You can't have them
Yeah.
underneath.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
So if you fly if you fly American Airlines on those sardine cans, the what are they? The CR 900s, I think. They're the real skinny little, look like little Learjets. Those half the time you can't bring a roller bag on, even the small ones, because they don't fit. So they always tell you to, you have to check it at the gate, and then they shove it underneath, and then when you come out of the plane, they bring it back to you. You still can't put it underneath. You got to have that battery with you. That's why I throw it in my backpack, because the backpack will fit under the seat.
Yeah, I think it's because if there's a problem with it, they can deal with it. They can put the fire extinguisher or something to it, whatever. But if it's in the hole, then something goes wrong, then you're done.
Kaboom.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering how many people do that though. Like you see these people like, oh, your bag. If you're check-in E, we can't fit your bags. You have to check them. I mean, how many people probably have batteries that they're like, screw it, and throw it in the back, even though they ask. But anyway, yeah. So traveling's not that bad. I did have a problem with I did have an issue with what was I going to use for when I was doing a park. Like, what am I going to use for my raise my antenna for the Buddy Pole Pro? So what I started to do, because in the beginning I went into Home Depot and bought one of those spikes for a fence, but you can't bring that on the plane, obviously. And the thing's huge. So what I was using is I would bring a small roller bag, and there'd be nothing in it. I might have like my clothes in it or something, and I'd use that with the handle to attach with a carabiner to raise
that's
the
a good
antenna,
idea.
because the handle goes up and down, right?
Yeah.
And then I decided that I have one of these like selfie sticks that turns, and it's like a telescoping tripod. So now I do that. It fits right in the bag, so it's even easier. So I don't have to bring the roller bag. But if you are traveling, you have that antenna, and you don't have a selfie stick, use your luggage. And people are like looking at me like, here I am at a park, and I'm lugging my luggage out of the car, setting it up and clipping a wire to it.
If you want to travel with your amateur radio equipment and you want something that's small and light to use for a portable mast, Soda Beam has like a 19-inch mast that fits right within obviously a small travel suitcase luggage, and it can extend out to like 20 some feet. And that works out really well as for sure as well with people. So if you want to go something small, check out the Soda Beam, masts that extend out, and that works out really great for traveling to get your wire antenna up somewhere nearby. Because I was at the bottom of Mount Rainier. There's not a lot of trees at the bottom of Mount Rainier or Rainier, or however you want to pronounce it, out in Washington. And it's like, well, I'm going to use. It's like, all right, well, I'm, because I kind of did a Google Earth map scope up ahead of time. And I just ended up having to mount my mast to like some stop sign or some little street sign. And I used those night eye zip ties that are about 18 inches long. You twist it around the pole and you put that mast beam up against that, and it works out beautifully. So it's great for traveling when you need a quick backup of some sort. So
yeah, those gear ties are really good. And you can buy like generic stuff at a hardware store. Usually it's like in the garden department, like the rubber wire. It's usually like with gardening and lawn stuff. And then I was going to say, so for the Soda Beams, I think what you're talking about, there's two that are good. I have the Carbon 6, which is
that's the one I have.
Small and light. It's amazing. That's going to be carbon fiber though, so you gotta be careful. You're not going to want to use that for a vertical antenna, because it can interfere and react with the antenna. But that's really good. And then the Tactical Mini is the other
one I've got.
And one of my friends has that. He travels a lot. That's great. That's the same size. It's another 6 meter mast, so you can get maybe 20 feet. But that said, that the Tactical Mini is fantastic. That's definitely made out of like some heavy duty fiberglass, and that's not going to bend or sway at all like some of the cheaper carbon fiber fishing rods and things like that. So that's if you're going to put up a dipole and you're going to have coax coming down, you're going to be fine. That thing's not going to flex or anything. It's good, and it's very packable.
It's 19.6 feet, and it's $63 online. So just don't expect to order it tomorrow and have it. You need it next week, because it takes about a week or two to get it. So be thinking of having in advance for that. But I know we've gotten off the awards topic, but I think it's good to talk about traveling a little bit too, as much as I think we all travel a little bit. and
Yeah,
what it takes
and that's
to
one
be
of
able
the
to do that.
things. Like you can leverage travel, whether it's personal, like, and you're just going to visit friends or family, or if it's I do a lot of travel for work, and I mean, just with travel alone, you can try to um, first of all, you can try to hit up new parks, period, regardless what state it is or whatever, and then you can go after getting the 50 unique parks, 100. I think I hit 100 unique parks um, last fall, which was one of the goals last year, and I did that just by trying to go to new parks. When last weekend when I was on the road, I picked a new park I hadn't been to, and it was real close to the hotel, which was nice. But look, that's an easy thing to do if you want to try to hit up multiple ones. If you're traveling, I've done a couple roves on work trips. Coming back where I'm not in a rush, and hit up multiple parks. That's a good way. And if you're real serious about trying to um, activate all states, then obviously when you're on the road or up in
Yeah.
the air, that's the time. You got to get out there and get on the air if you're gonna
Well,
chase after those. But you might be even able to better get the worked all or hunted all states for
yeah.
POTA when you're traveling. If you're having a hard time hitting a particular state, everyone always says like Alaska and Hawaii or whatever. Well, if
Yeah, if
you're
you're
out,
out,
we're all on the East Coast. If we're out west, it might be an entirely different
yeah.
story, and maybe that's the opportunity to get Hawaii or Montana or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's
Montana's
lots of ways.
Montana's tough though. There's not a lot of ham.
That was one
First,
of the
there's not a
last
lot
ones
of
I got.
people. Right. It was one of the last ones too for the hunted. But like you said, like the traveling, like I volunteer. I tell my administrators, I say, listen, anytime a kid needs to be seen, even if it's not our kid, like my kid, someone else's, I'll go. I don't care. I don't mind traveling. It doesn't bother me. I mean, I do it really just to do the POTA parks and to get more states. That's really why I do it. I said, I go see the kid.
Absolutely.
It takes me like a half an hour. You're traveling all day. Like, what else are you going to do? So I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And they know I do it. And they say, oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah, go ahead, do it. So, you get more and more. But when I retire, I already told my wife we're getting one of those Sprinter vans and I'm road tripping. So like, if I need to get Montana, like I might be like, you know what? We're going to Montana. And she'd be like, what? I got to go get a park out there.
Yeah.
So talking about doing parks, and I don't think it's really going to involve a park when I get there, but I am taking a cruise in a week from starting tomorrow, and I'm going to the Bahamas, and there's 2 islands. I'm doing a quick 4-day cruise.
Ooh.
And I have reached out to the Bahamas Nassau Radio Authority down there to ask for permission. We do have like a reciprocity agreement with them. Since I work in the league, it makes it really nice to be able to just go upstairs and ask and say, hey, how do I do this? So,
Yeah.
it makes it a little bit easier. I did do some research ahead of time, but it was one of those things that we were able to get it. But my problem is carrying the equipment onto the cruise ship. They said no ham radios. So I'm trying to write them and say, hey, this is what I want to do when I'm at the island here. Can you allow me to do it for that? So
I just got back from a cruise to the Bahamas, and they didn't like look in my bag or anything like that. Now, I'm not saying that you should bring it and all that, but they didn't really check for stuff like that I could
did you
tell.
have yours with?
No, we got permission from the Bahamas, like you said, but I didn't get permission from the boss.
Oh,
So all the radio stuff stayed home.
okay. So
there's a guy, we were just talking, I was on the repeater just this week. One of the guys in my club, he was talking to a guy on a cruise ship. He was maritime, but he was just a guy who was like on a Carnival cruise, and he was doing ham radio probably like right out of his room.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't want them confiscating it and not getting it back. So I'm a little worried there, but I'm going to see what I can do. I'm waiting for the cruise line to give me a response. So
yeah, I definitely check first, but like I said, they didn't check my bag for anything. Not that we had anything we were worried about, but I was curious about that.
Yeah.
Because I saw the same thing. They said no radios, whatever, but
they probably don't want you to, they don't want it to interfere with their communications or whatever. Like if you're on the boat, but maybe if you can get permission, say, listen, I'm going to the Bahamas. I'm going to be doing this radio thing. I'm not going to use it on the
boat. I just want to use it on the island.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they might even let you say, hey, can we just like put it in,
security or something.
security, in a
Safekeeping.
locker or something. Yeah, who knows?
We'll see.
Yeah, and every port might be different. We went out of New York City, so if you're
Well,
going somewhere else, it might be different.
yeah, we are. It's Royal Caribbean's private island. I'm drawing a blank out where it should be then. And then the other one's Bimini or something like that. Is the two islands we're going to. So we'll see. But anyway, trying to work a little bit while I'm there.
Yeah, I'm going to the U.S. Virgin Islands on St. John in November. I'm trying to get Eric to go with me. I invited him. I have a timeshare. It's got like 3 bedrooms. I said, come on, bring your wife and let's go play some parks on the air. It's one park. 3/4 of the island is a park. Like, no joke. The island's 9 square miles, and 3/4 of the island is the national park.
Tell me when and where.
Yeah. So I was pretty psyched. I'm going down there. I said, I'm going to do a bunch of activations because you can go like on the beach, you can go up on the hill, you can go wherever you want. I mean, it's huge. And so I'm hoping he comes. That way I have a partner out there, and we'll probably be activating every day for 7 days, at least in the morning and maybe in the evening when it's cool.
Nice.
Or cooler. But yeah, it should be fun to get that park as a activated park. And I don't know if are there any awards for getting like foreign parks? I don't think so.
I was just checking that out myself. That's why I was just looking at to see what the reference areas or countries maybe that might be possible in there.
Because I think it'll say like activated. I wonder what'll happen because it says on the thing activated all references. Like if you go on your POTA app, and it'll show you all the states that you've done and how many parks. Like it'll say like for example, New Hampshire has 194 parks. So I've done 19 out of 194. Maryland has 186 parks. I've done 1. So, it kind of shows you, but I wonder what happens like if you go to the Virgin Islands or Puerto Rico, or even if you do a foreign park, does it show up there like U.S. Virgin Islands, one park?
It says, as having worked all of the available reference areas in a particular state or territory, the District, Columbia, Guam, American Samoa, Virgin Island, Puerto Rico are also available. These are also available for all countries and DX2. Please let us know if you need help for further assistance. So I'm going to make the assumption here that if you get one of those areas or one of those countries, they will give you an award for that country as well as DX. So,
yeah. And I don't know, it's U.S. Virgin Islands, so I'm not sure, what it is. But, if I cruise over to the British Virgin Islands, I'd have to call them and say, like, you can literally from St. John, you can get over you could swim to the British Virgin Islands. Yeah. It's that close. I mean, literally, it's that close.
Wow.
And, these guys, it's such a ripoff. Like to go there, it costs a couple bucks to take the ferry to like St. Thomas, and it's shorter to go to the British Virgin Islands, but it's $84 each way. And then when you go there, they charge you to leave. So like one day I was over there and I'm like, well, what if I don't pay your exit tax? I got to sit here in paradise forever. And the guy's like, you're trying to be funny. And I'm like, I'm just making a joke. Like, how come the U.S. doesn't have exit tax for all these foreigners?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're on a boat in the Virgin Islands, you go through customs once and you get a pass to go in and out of the waters. So you can go to British, you go to the US, British, whatever. You don't have to keep going through customs every time.
Right.
So
I'm going to bring up a couple awards here. Take a little short break from the travel, just because I do see we're coming up like at 7:45 or so. But a couple awards that have to do with the bands, right? So there's the N1CC award, and then there's the POTA 6-pack award. And I want to, at least the 6-pack, I want to touch on real quick. I just got mine. And that was something that was a goal this year that I was definitely working towards. And I got the 6-pack Hunter and the 6-pack Activator. But one of the things that you can do, and there's some radios. My first radio was a G90 that didn't do 6 meters, so I didn't get on 6 meters for like over a year or so. And And some areas have more activity on 6 than others. I know, Rob, you're a big fan of 6 meters, I think.
I love
Yeah,
6
you're
meters.
huge
Yeah.
on it, yeah. And but if you, one of the things that you can do if you do want to get some of these awards, what you got to do and I hate to say it, but this is where contests and nets can be your friend. Okay, there are locally we have a 6 meter net. I haven't done it, but I could have easily gone out to some of the parks. Most of them would have been state forests because they would have been later in the evening, and I can hop on and work people on the net. Or right after it on 6 meters if I needed to get that. Instead, the way that I got my 6-pack awards was I went to different parks for all the VHF contests. And there's a lot of activity during VHF contests on, on all the high bands. But, 6 meters, especially this time of year, you get into the summer, this is the time to do it. And this is timely because right now, as we're doing this, it's the CQ Worldwide VHF contest. So there should be a lot of activity on 2 and 6 meters. It started this afternoon and it's going to go till 5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, I believe. So, this is a great time. And, well, you might not get openings, that all the time. There's going to probably be a little bit more activity. And you might be able to get a few of those contacts to help. So that's one of those things, just a tip. And it's, like I said, it's relevant because that VHF contest is going on till tomorrow at 5 Eastern. Get on 6 meters, give FT8 a shot at least. I was out at the park this afternoon before the contest started. At the end, I set the whip to 6 meters and called out. I got one local contact because some people were, it was like an hour before the contest. So I at least knew people would be, set up or someone would be listening.
Right.
But you don't know unless you try. But sometimes if you look for contests or nets, when I got the day that I got the N1CC, when I got the 10th park with 10 bands, I happened to catch a net on 60 meters. I wanted to try out on an antenna on 60 and sure enough, there was actually a net going on. I got to, check in or whatever. And so, I say contests and nets, it's sometimes that makes people in POTA cringe because, some of the bad behaviors and operating practices, but it's also can be something to look for if you're chasing after some of those awards like the N1CC or the 6-pack where they're dependent on the bands. And, look for nets on, whether it's 60 meters or local ones on 6, look for contests. There's contests for different bands, different times of the year. You're going to get activity during those contests and those nets. So, it's kind of like, let's just say, why do you rob banks? That's where the money is, it's, that's, if that's where people are playing in that, and there's activity, then go for it.
Now, what's the criteria on the 6-pack award? That's 6 activations on 6 different bands?
So for the activator, you have to activate 6 different parts. You got to get, I shouldn't say activate. You have to get 10 contacts on 6 meters at 6 different parks. Those contacts, those 10 contacts don't have to happen all at once in the same activation, but it keeps track. So you got to get 10 contacts on 6 meters. It doesn't matter, mode or whatever. You can work the same person and you can do it on sideband, AM, VHF, FT8, FT4, and next thing you start running out of modes, but you can do that. You just get 10 contacts on 6 meters at 6 different parks. The hunted, it's a little bit different. I was surprised when I got it, but Hunter 6-packs, you got to have contacts with 6 different parks on 6 meters. So that's just a matter of, going after that. But I'm sure there's people like me that will go out and will activate during contests. And, for some of these VHF stuff, I know I wasn't alone. I got, a couple park to parks on 6 meters the last few times I've gone out and done it. So it's a good time whether you're hunting or activating. Just be aware of some of those. If you're chasing after those awards, it's a good way to get them.
Yeah, it's fun just to kind of diversify your bands as well, because we always think about 20 and 40, but there's a lot more bands out there to go play on. So it's good to be able to work some of those and some of those that are obviously during the cycle 25 and the solar cycle. It's great to be able to utilize that when we can, because it's a very limited time for us to have it. But at the same time, we always want to make sure we continue to use those bands too, and kind of, use it or lose it sort of thing. So I'm glad to see that we get it's 6 meters is one of my favorite as well. Never done a lot of, usually it's field day when I make all my contacts on 6, but I do enjoy trying it once. So
I like 10. It's probably my second favorite band. When 10's open, I'll go to it. I normally will even try it out. Like if I start off with 20, if I activate, I might go to 10 just to see what's out there. And you'd be surprised when people see you on 10 and they can hear you. Like you'll get a lot of contacts. Like
really,
because because people are like, I think 20 is so packed. Like trying to, like, if you're hunting stations, right? Like you might be like one of like 30 people trying to get in there, where there's not as many people on 10. It's a lot clearer. There's not as much noise. At least that's been my experience. And like I said, Eric and I in October did that rove, and we did 10 meters like for 3/4 of the rove because it was just open to Europe, and we were getting Europe like 5-9 all day long. And like I said, we'd be out like maybe 30 minutes tops, up, down, 10 contacts out. And then it was funny because when we get to about 5 o'clock, it just died. It went flat and there was nothing. Like, where'd they all go? So we switched over to 20 and do it. But I like when 10's open, I like it. Eric and I did another park. He was working 20, and one of the guys in our club texted us and said, hey, 10's open. So I switched over. We had 2 antennas going. I switched over to 10, and I made a bunch, like, I don't know, 20 contacts probably within like half an hour.
So Mike, good. You might go ahead. I'm sorry, Todd.
No, go ahead.
Mike, a quick question for you. Probably you know best out of this group is the QRP award versus working on 100 watts. Is there a difference there? And do you find yourself working a lot of QRP and making just as many contacts as you would if you're using a 100-watt radio?
QRP is definitely more about the challenge and then just, rolling with, trying to do more with less, ultimately. I feel like more often than not, it's, I'll get more contacts if I'm running more power. That said, I have a 705 and a 7300. So if I want to do stuff on 2 meters and 440, then I'm going to be using my 705, and I'm going to be using that for weak signal stuff. And then it's just 10 watts. Now for POTA awards, I don't think I'm not sure if there's anything that's for QRP or QRO or anything like that. But for some of these contests, like when I do the VHF contests, there's categories on power limits, and I tend to do the single op portable, which means I'm at a portable location. It's just one op, it's me, and then that category limits it to 10 watts. But when it comes to contests, all the contests are different. Like I noticed I'd never done the one that's going on now for VHF, the CQ worldwide, but I noticed in the rules, like they kind of frowned on you using 146.52. And and I think Rob, you did a video on this, I think, and it's different parts of the country look at 5.2 differently, whether it's like you don't use it unless you're calling someone and then you QSY right away. Other parts, they're just glad that people are on 2 meters and they don't care. And where I am, everyone's fine. I've done activations multiple times on 5.2 for fun. And, but like I said, to bring it back to the contest, and it's everything's different. So you just got to kind of read into it, whether it's, a contest or an award or whatever, and see what the criteria is.
Yeah, my only mobile radio I have now, I have my mobile 891 in my truck, but if I'm traveling or I'm not in my truck, I only have the 705 to take with me portable. So I'm looking at getting the Yaesu 710 potentially, even though I've got a 991A, but it's in a big gator case.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a lot to carry. So I'm kind of looking at getting another mobile or some type of HF rig for portable operations for parks again. I think that's kind of discouraged me from being out right now, because I don't have a good mobile setup or portable setup. that's not heavy and burdensome, with weight. So
I'll tell you what I've heard. I don't typically run QRP because if I'm activating, I don't really have a lot of time. So I usually run 50 to 70 watts. I never go all the way to 100. But anyway, what I've heard from a few people I know that do QRP is that the kind of the nice thing about POTA is the POTA site is almost like an instant amplifier, because you post that you're activating, even though you're QRP, people know you're there. They're looking for you. If they were just tuning around, they might not hear you. But if they go to the spot page, they see you spotted and they listen, they hear you weak, okay, they'll put on their preamp, whatever. So I've heard that from some of the QRP guys that, that just the nature of POTA kind of helps them kind of get those contacts. I don't know if you guys have experienced that or not. But.
Well, I know when I'm activating a park and I hear someone QRP, I'll go to them first. It's like park to park and QRP mobile. Those are the guys, especially the QRP guys, because those guys are working hard. Some of these guys, I worked a guy with he was working 3 watts, and I was like, are you kidding me? 3 watts? Bump it up to at least 5, man. Come on.
He was going for the challenge.
Yeah. Really. But you're talking about the portable radio. I keep joking with Eric, I really want Yaesu to come out with a 100-watt 705. I don't know why. I mean, someone from Yaesu's got to be hearing me because I keep talking about it. They put that out there. I'm going to be the first one on there. I bring it here.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, the 891 is a great radio, but for POTA, it's not that bad, but sometimes the bands are kind of crappy. It's not an easy radio to kind of go through the menu, right? There's
not
a lot
for changing over to digital for sure.
Right.
And we don't even need the full 100 watts. 50 would be fine.
Yeah, 50. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, but it's got to be coming. And Eric just bought another 891 for his truck. And I said, oh, now Yaesu's coming on. I can't wait. But it hasn't happened yet, so we'll see.
Yeah, I got to laugh at Eric's comment. Yeah, that's definitely one of those things where, people do QRP for the challenge should be yelling, QRP or whatever. Yeah,
that is a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, I'll often say it. I'll mention thing. Well, first of all, if I'm activating QRP, sometimes I'll put it in the comments. And I know that the minute someone else comments or responds me, it's going to get washed out. But at least to let people know, hey, I'm QRP. So if you can't hear me, that's why. But I'll occasionally say it, and if I work somebody or whatever, and say, I'm just running 10 watts or 5 watts or whatever it is, and it is what it is. But I think a lot of us, our voice. Voice modes is kind of the preference, but if you're running digital or CW, then it's a different game. What you can do with less power and everything.
No, I hear you. Well, we're coming up to the end of the hour, so we should probably wrap this up. But so basically, what I got out of it is we look at the awards. There are some challenges. Some people are hunting some more difficult awards just as the challenge to get it. And like I said, there's a lot of them. I mean, they've added more. They've now got early shift. They used to only have late shift, right? Now they've got early shift. And then I didn't know what identities were. Identities are different countries. So if you work a park in Austria, that's an identity. If you work a park in Germany, that's an identity. So they've got those too. So, I mean, I have to go through and every time I see what is this identity thing? I have to go look it up and find out what am I working towards? Because you don't even know. Yeah. But like I said, it can be kind of fun. And it, like you said, it doesn't cost anything. And it's kind of good to see kind of where you are. And it kind of gives you a better visual picture of kind of what you're doing with POTA. So anyone have any last thoughts, words, anything?
I thought it might be good to go back to Eric's comment. He mentioned in the very beginning, he's like, so what's everyone's, next award goal? So the good way to kind of put a bow on it is just everyone to share kind of if there's any goals, official or in the back of their head that they might be working towards right
Well, I think
now.
I mentioned it earlier was, definitely going after that kilo award. I'd like to be able to get that since I was close, but I didn't have a chance to get it before. I've got a park literally 5-7 minutes away from here. I should be able to go hit that every day almost on my way home. But go in and grab 10 parks or 10 contacts and leave and go do it again the next day. Right. But really about doing enough travel to get those worked all states, literally traveling to every state and making that happen is what my big goal is. So.
Yeah, so my bigger goals are for the hunting, Alaska and Hawaii. So if anyone's watching from Alaska or Hawaii, look for me.
Hawaii's in the chat. Eric's in the chat from Hawaii.
Yeah. And then like I said, I'm working on my kilo. Eric and I are working on. We have the National Rail Trail. We decided a while ago. It's a very local park, and we said we're going to do the kilo together. So we're kind of neck and neck. And when we get to, I don't know, maybe 950 contacts, we're going to live stream us getting our kilo. So we got to get to the point where we're even, and then we're gonna live stream it. So we're hoping to get that done in the next month or two. I mean, I'm just under 800. And sometimes that park, like I've gotten like 60 in an hour there,
Yep.
and I've gotten like 10 in an hour. So it really depends on the bands, but that'll be the next big one. That's the one we've been working on for a while. And then in the fall, we're going to try to get the 10 Rover instead of the 5. Like we got the 5, okay. We made it to 7. We're going to go for 10. So those are the two awards that I'll be working on next couple months.
Nice. I'm trying to talk myself into going to North Carolina on Labor Day weekend to meet my buddy Dallas, who's in the chat here, and a few others. I don't know if I'm going to end up doing it. It's looking 75% that I will. And if I do, part of that trip, the goal is to activate as many states as I can. Which again, I'm not necessarily going for an award there. That's more of just how many of these can I get? I don't think I'll ever activate all 50, but at least I can knock those out on that trip because I'll be going by myself. I won't have anybody to tell me I can't play radio or something.
Yeah. Well, I just drove down there, and if I didn't have the family, it would have taken me a lot longer because I would have stopped at it. I mean, we're driving by parks. I'm like, that's a park. I know.
Well, that's what I'm planning to do. Originally, I was going to fly down, but then I said, no, if I drive down, I can activate all these states. And that's what I'm trying to work myself. I really don't like to travel. If I didn't have to leave the house, I'd be happy. But I think I'm going to try and force myself to do this and make a POTA kind of roll out of it kind of a thing and hit all those states if I can. But that's really the only goal I guess I have on the docket.
It'll break it up too, like drive. I mean, I drove straight through. I mean, we drove to like south of Richmond the first day, and it was just a lot. Like it's just a lot of driving, and basically from Hartford to Richmond is nothing but traffic. I mean, you got New York, you got Baltimore, DC. I mean, it's like, you get a little break for 20 miles, and the next thing you know, you're in traffic again.
Well, I plan to take 2 days. I'm going to drive like a third of the way one day after work, and then camp somewhere, and then, So I don't know. I've got it all planned out. I just got to.
There you go. Yeah, North Carolina is great. I love that state. It was a beautiful state. It's not expensive either. I was shocked. I bought an iced tea for like, what was it? It was $3.72 for a little bottle of iced tea in New Jersey. I get to North Carolina, I buy the same one. It was $1.29. Exact same thing. I was like, I love North Carolina.
Yeah, my sister retired prices. Down there. Yeah, so that's part of my visit. Is I'm going to see my sister that's down there. But
yeah, that's cool.
We'll see how it goes.
Nice.
Yeah, I realized just recently when I was traveling to visit family this past weekend, and I was looking for parks and saw a handful of some state forests that had only been activated like 5 or 6 times. And they're all right next to each other in central New York. And I was like, oh, I gotta do another rove because I haven't done one in a while. And initially when I got started in POTA a couple years ago, they were doing the radar awards. Now I don't want to confuse anybody who's watching, especially if you're newer to Parks on the Air. So the radar awards are very similar to the rovers, but there was these, depending on your mode of travel, if you were on bike or foot versus by car, there were mileage distances that you had to, go in order to to qualify the next reference and stuff. And I think I had done radars for 3, 5, and 7 parks or whatever, and then they converted it to the Rover Awards, because ultimately that makes sense. It's about just knocking off different parks. When I did one of the radar awards, I had to drive backwards because the parks are so close to each other. So I'm zigzagging and calculating the mileage in between to make sure that I'm still traveling enough of a distance. So it didn't make sense the way that I went for a normal human being, but like for a POTA fanatic, yeah, it made sense because I was trying to maximize the distance in between each stop. But I got to do the 10 park one. I never got that with the radar, and I've done 5, for the Rover Award, but I got to do 10. And there's a density in the Northeast and New York when it comes to parks. You get into the original 13 colonies or whatever. There's a lot of history, so there's a lot of historic sites. There's a lot of state parks, and there's a lot of opportunity. So I gotta plan one out and try to knock out a 10 park one next.
Yeah, there's, like I said, the parks along the coast of Mass, New Hampshire, and Maine. There's so many of them. I mean, they're on top of each other, so it's quick driving. And if you know your equipment and you can take down and set up pretty quickly, and you know what you're doing, and you don't have to figure it out, you can do them pretty quickly. Especially if the bands are good. I mean, when we did it in October, we had good luck with the bands. I don't know. It'd be pretty challenging if you had like a couple weeks ago when it was really tough to get anything. So yeah, if the bands are good, that's maybe you plan it out and wait for a good week when the bands are good and then go for it.
Right.
But we're gonna have to start earlier. I said we can't start at like 9 o'clock. We're gonna have to get out there at like 6 and just get it done, because we were done. We did like 9 to 6, and I was beat. I was like, man, this is tired. I mean, you don't realize how tiring it is, but we were like sitting in Maine, and I'm like, man, we got to get home. I'm like, I'm all done with this. Parks in the air right now.
Yeah.
So
it can become some long days. It's like doing field day for 24 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. By the end of field day, right? You're like, oh,
I'm done. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Anyone else have any things? All right. Well, listen, thank you those that are watching us. It's been fun. I hope you enjoyed it with the our topic of POTA. Figured it was a good topic since it's Parks on the Air, Support Your Parks weekend, and no one really has ever really talked about the awards, and thought it would be a good idea. So I hope you guys liked it, and I hope everyone has a good month ahead. We'll be back next month with a new topic, and we'll be looking forward to it.
You still got time to get out and get in the parks this weekend. We still got tomorrow.
Yeah. Get out,
go,
activate a park, hunt a park, get those certificates.
Go do late shift
tomorrow.
Yeah. I think it's 7 p.m. Eastern is when it ends on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think that's when it is.
It's 8. I think right now it's 8.
Oh, it's 8. Okay.
And in the fall it'll switch to 7, back to 7.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. With the UTC and the daylight savings or daylight standard, whatever.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I hate it.
Yeah. Can we just keep it the same?
No doubt.
Pick one and run with it, but that's it.
All right. All right, guys. Well, listen, 73 is good seeing you guys, and we'll talk to everyone soon.
Hold on.
See you later.
Yeah.